and welcome to the third episode of our little talk show we got here. Today I got myself, I got the co-owner and Pacific analyst Jack Mitchell with me.
Hello.
And once again, I have Michael with me.
Hello.
Today, the main discussion is going to be about the Anaheim Ducks. We'll be reviewing their team for the 2018 NHL season. So let's move on to the top stories. We have an update on David Pastrnak. The Boston general manager will not be trading him. So the Boston Bruins general manager John Sweeney announced David Pastrnak will not be traded to another team. Pastrnak still has not been signed to a new contract for the Bruins. The Boston Bruins currently have just $10 million in remaining cap space. So this eliminates the trade most likely, but I did have a guy in my NHL chat that I run. He said there's a trade still likely, but that would be towards the end of September. So, do y'all have anything to say about this one?
I mean, if the GM confirms it, then that pretty much checks out. I mean, as long as it came from a reliable source, and I'm pretty sure it does, then yeah, I don't think the trade's gonna happen.
If it came from him himself, yeah.
Well, we saw a couple of years ago, last year even, when Mark Bergevin of the Canadiens said, "I'm not going to trade PK."
You're right. And then he traded him like a week later.
He traded PK for Shea Weber. So what's going to be interesting is if they're able to sign Pastrnak for whatever the term is and whatever the money is, but still get contracts for their limit, because they have 43 out of the possible 50 contracts right now, and they still need depth. They still need 3 people on the roster for their NHL roster. It remains to be seen whether they're going to call someone up or maybe just go with what they have right now plus Pastrnak.
So that's it there for your top stories. And this day in NHL history, Montreal Canadiens goaltender Carey Price was born in the year 1987, Anaheim Lake, British Columbia, Canada. Price went 5th overall in 2005 NHL draft to Montreal as we became one of the best goaltenders of the NHL today. Carey Price won the Vezina Trophy in 2015. And no scores, but good news, 1 month away from games. And transactions, this first one we'll talk about at the end of the stream. Toronto with Alexei Marchenko. He signed with the KHL going to CSKA Moscow, one of the more popular teams in Vancouver, Borna Rundle. He's signed with the however you say it, Pelicans. And then Boston's Bureau Belakos. He's signed with the EIHL Belfast. And Tampa Bay, Cody Kunit. He's signed with the DL Shrubing. And Tampa Bay, at Pierre Lou Vittorio LeBlanc. He retired. And lastly, from Vancouver, Pascal Pelletier, he signed with the LBGCK Alliance. And so not much there. We'll talk about Alexei Marchenko later. No injury reports. No schedule. And let's get to the main discussion for today on the Anaheim Ducks 2017-18 team review. So the Anaheim Ducks, they finished 4th in the NHL for the 2016-17 season, and they won the Pacific Division Championship. and their off-season began May 23rd, 2017 by taking a loss in the conference finals to the Nashville Predators. So, the additions they made was Reto Berra, Alex Dossi, Derek Grant, Mike Obamas, Ryan Miller, Steve Oleski, and Dennis Rasmussen. The biggest one I see out of this one is getting Ryan Miller, and then you'll see why in a moment. And then some subtractions, we have Spencer Abbott, Jonathan Bernier, Simon Desprez, Jonas Enroth, Emerson Etam, Ryan Farrager, Ryan Garbett, Nate Gouin, Matt Gortz, Kyle McKinnon, Jeff Schultz, Nick Sorensen, Clayton Stoner, Shea Theodore, and Nate Thompson. The biggest one was probably Bernier, but you have I would say Ryan Miller's a better goaltender. We'll discuss a lot more, and their projected lines. I'm gonna go from forward to defense to goaltenders. You got Raquel, Getzlaff, and Perry on the first line. Cogliano, Kessler, and Silverberg's second line. And you got Richie, Vermette, and Eves on line 3. And then you got Shaw, Wagner, and Cassett on the fourth line. And then for defense, you got Lindholm and Manson on line 1, Fowler and Montour line 2, and Biesta and Vatanen on line 3. And then your goaltenders, your starter will be John Gibson, and your backup will be Ryan Miller. So let's discuss a little. Where can we start? So what was their best addition to the team?
Well, I think Ryan Miller probably, because the Ducks have been in a bit of a goaltending situation for a long time. I think it really started in the 2014 playoffs when they lost to the LA Kings. They went through a couple of different goalies, and they only ended up back where they started with Jonas Hiller. And Hiller came back in after the Ducks were already down 4 goals in Game 7, and they ended up losing 6-2. So really, I think that's when their goaltending troubles began. And I think Ryan Miller might be the best answer right now to their goaltending problems. But we'll see what happens, because anything can happen, really.
Anything, Michael? So subtractions.
I would say.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry
about that.
That's all right.
I would say that losing John Gibson or losing Frederick Anderson last season when trading him to the Leafs was a huge problem for the Ducks, and it showed in their goaltending situation. As Bernier was a pretty solid goaltender with the Ducks last season in the playoffs as well. He had a 5.0 goals against average and a .915 save percentage. But in the playoffs, he was not anything that he wasn't very good. He even surrendered 6 goals in the closing game, Western Conference Finals. So I think getting an established backup in there like Ryan Miller, like both of you said, is really, really good.
Especially
for John Gibson's growth.
Especially because that you reminded me that there was John Gibson is not a goalie that can handle pressure. We've seen that a few times. He really just does not perform well under serious pressure, like in Game 7, like we've seen these past few years. He's been in net, and the Ducks have lost to Game 7 because of it. And the Ducks can't keep expecting to ride him in pressure situations. Like, he is not gonna do perfect every time just because you keep putting him in. Like, that's not how it works. So they have to be wise about what they're gonna do with this situation here.
I will say that you're giving no credit to John Gibson, who's particularly young. He's only 24. He's
That's
been in
true.
pressure situations, but last year in the playoffs, he was great. He had a 918 save percentage.
That's true, but they still ended up losing a game 7. So maybe I'm not giving him enough credit, but they like rushed him all like in 2014. Like it was his first career start in the playoffs. Like sure he did get a shutout, but then he ended up losing the series for them. Really, I think he was the main reason why they lost that series. So they can't.
I would
He's a young
say
goalie. He's more used to it now, but he stuff. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. He can't be he can't always be expected to be like performing at the top of his game. Maybe in a few years that'll change. Maybe this year that'll change. You never know. But like having a good backup like Miller is perfect for those situations. Like if he's off his game, then they can put Miller in and they can worry about it with him.
All right. I want to say something about the addition of Brian Miller. I think he's there mainly because he knows being a. I don't know what other offers he got, but I think he went with Anaheim because he wants to win a Stanley Cup. And what you were saying about John Gibson, by the way, I mean, I guess you can be right because I don't know. Some reason I expect a lot out of this Anaheim Ducks team. I mean, they do pretty good, but in these last, I would say 5 years, they've been pretty good. But I believe the last two, I could see them as Stanley Cup Final teams. But honestly, they got to figure out how to get back to the finals. And I think Ryan Miller can help do that in this year. I'm not making official predictions yet, but I think that's the reason he's there. He wants to win a cup, and that could be the reason.
I mean,
Yeah.
Miller is on a $2 million 2-year deal, paying him $2 million a year with a modified no trade clause. So he's definitely going to get a lot of the games. You don't just give a 35-plus-year-old $2 million and a modified no trade clause if you don't have big plans for him.
They're obviously expecting Miller to do something really, really big here, so I think they have a lot of faith in him. So you never know. We'll see. It all really comes down to how they perform in the season.
Every year, I'm thinking this Anaheim Ducks team's going to be in the finals, and then it just disappoints me that they're so close. But I mean,
it does disappoint me.
Yeah, I know that, but I've been expecting them to be in at least the last 2 or 3 years, and they've been so close so many times, yet they haven't made it. I mean, they have won a Stanley Cup 10 years ago, but I think this year they can get back on track, but we'll be probably making playoff predictions in April. So the subtractions, I'm just gonna go from here. Jonathan Bernier. I mean, you lose him, but he's more of a younger goaltender. Ryan Miller's older. I think it's good. And we'll probably talk more about the Jonathan Bernier situation in Colorado. So, what did y'all think was the subtraction that Anaheim didn't need? I think, the same time they didn't need to lose Bernier, but they did get a better goaltender. So, yeah. Basically, what's the key player that they lost? The best key player.
I'm going to actually go with Emerson Edom on this one. I know Edom doesn't put up a lot of points. He only played in 3 games for them during the regular season when he was acquired, or he just couldn't stay healthy last season. But he showed a lot of flash with Vancouver, and he showed a lot of flash with Anaheim in his first stint with them. And I think if he gets more chances, he's really going to show that he's a talented player. he is still kind of youngish. He's 25, so I think he'll be, uh, um, I guess, good addition for Arizona. And I'm really disappointed to see Anaheim let him go. I thought he could have been really nice as an extra piece.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. Emerson Edom was like a really key player for the Ducks. I mean, like you didn't really hear his name coming up a lot, but I think he really could have maybe helped them out in the long run because he's been key. You just don't see it as much. Like I think he's one of the more underrated players on that team, and he really just it does not help to lose him, but um, it just I think didn't they lose him in the draft, the expansion draft, or
No, they
Yep.
lost them to defensemen Clayton Stoner and Shea Theodore.
Yep.
oh yeah. All right, well there you
Uh,
go.
So,
One
wait,
more
go
thing
ahead.
on Edom, real quick. So there's a really great website that I highly suggest called ownthepuck.blogspot.com, and it has these things called hero charts. And I know hero charts aren't spectacular, but they take into account uh, ice time goals, first assist, generation, and shot suppression. And Emerson Edom is perfect for fourth line candidate. His shot generation is way up compared to a fourth liner. Everything else is about the same, except for shot suppression is a little down. But I feel like the Ducks probably lost a really good fourth liner with Edom.
And,
Hmm.
well, when I look at these projected lines, I mean, it looks like they're trying to get more of the older guys who are, deaf players out of there and bringing up a lot of young players. Josh Manson, Braden Montour, he got his first career goal not too long ago.
I think I know the reason why they're doing this. Like I don't really see it like last season, but I know the season before, like they had a really rocky start. They were falling way behind. Their key veterans were taking way too long to produce. They barely squeezed into winning the division that year. So like they their forwards are not like they're like veteran players. You got like Corey Perry, Ryan Getzlav. They're not like performing the best that they could be. And when they are performing, it's happening way later than it should be happening. So I think the Ducks are kind of like hoping to take a gamble on the fact that maybe their young players will start producing first. So they want to want to put them out on the ice longer because they know that if they perform better earlier, they can have better chances of winning games.
I would 100% agree with that. So when you look at uh, who were the top point producers for the Ducks, you had Ryan Getzlaf at almost a point per game. He had 73 points in 74 games. Then you had Ryan Kessler and Corey Perry. And you had people like Cam Fowler and Andrew Cogliano who really, really struggled at the beginning of the season and showed. However, you had some young pieces, both on the front end and the back end, that really kind of showed what they're worth. Silverberg had 49 points. Vermette had 28. Vatanen had 24. Um, there were some other just really good players. Theodore had 9 points in 34 games before they lost him. So the reason that they were able to get so far was because they had a lot of different people, like different depth guys scoring, making plays, which is what you need. And if the older veteran players just go at maybe a point or three quarters of a point per game, uh, Anaheim should be unstoppable.
Yeah, I absolutely love those lines. I mean, there's probably a weakness somewhere, but everything looks great in my opinion. If I mean, if they don't win it this upcoming year, or at least get in the finals this upcoming year, and They should probably make it in the next year, and if they don't do that, I don't know. I don't know.
I think the focus for them right now would just be making the playoffs to start off with. But really, like, I think it all just comes back down to the production of, like, the rookies. Like, I think that's what the Ducks are banking on for their playoff success.
Mhm.
I would 100% agree with that. You asked for a weakness. I'd go with fourth line right wing. Case had a decent season last year. He had 15 points, 53 games.
Mhm.
But I mean, he is really young at 21. But I think he could use some more developing down in the minors. He played in 9 games in the playoffs. He did have 2 points, uh, both of them goals. But you want spread out depth guys, and I think that maybe if they missed out on something, it was getting a fourth line uh, left winger or right winger that could really chip in some points, play some great defense. And Case, while he is young and he is on his way to being a solid, probably third line player, I don't think he's ready yet.
Yeah, I mean, during that playoffs, they were sending him down and calling him up. He's playing in both playoffs, Calder and Stanley Cup. So they really want him to be one of the best players, and I think that's it there. And some predictions. Will the Anaheim Ducks make the playoffs?
Yes, I think they will. I mean, they've had a little bit of struggles lately, but I think, as in terms of just generally making it, I think they will at least make the playoffs. I don't know about the finals yet. I think it's still a little bit too early to start judging that, even though the rosters are starting to come to. I still don't think that we're at the point where we can judge a team whether it can get to the finals yet. But as for making the playoffs, I definitely think they have the capability to do it. So I think, yes, they will make the playoffs.
Yeah, here, let me talk here real quick. This is why I said we're going to make official predictions in April, but you're just. I'm trying not to make playoff predictions so early. So I'm just saying what I'm thinking a little about, and then once it's April, we'll come to those official decisions. So go ahead, Michael.
Well, Anaheim had 105 points last year. Um, and that was with their first and second line struggling a little bit in the beginning of the season. However, I still do have a little bit of a question about the fourth line. I have a question in goaltending uh, with a good but not great duo of Gibson and Miller. I would say that they will make the playoffs, but I don't think they'll do as well as last year, just because I'm not sure about their bottom two forward lines and their goaltending situation.
And yeah, for sure they're gonna make the playoffs, but we're gonna be talking about where these teams are gonna be finishing after the preseason. Yeah, well, but the team they gotta watch out for is current, and it's probably the only team because I think San Jose's just getting weaker and weaker each year by little. The only team we have to watch out for in their division would be the Edmonton Oilers. But anyway, I think there's, I think they will make the playoffs. Anything else?
Well, you mentioned San Jose. I don't know about San Jose. They're a really unpredictable team. I didn't think they'd make it last year. They did. And then um, I didn't think they'd make it sorry, I'm distracted again. Uh, um, I really think that Sharks. I don't know how much of a threat that there will be to the Ducks, but um, you never know. Really, that team is really back and forth. So I don't really 100% agree with the fact that the Sharks will be a threat, but that one's just really mostly a waiting game.
Yeah. Anything else now? Or
Uh, so you mentioned the Pacific Division. There are only about 4 teams that really could make the playoffs. You got the Ducks, the Oilers, the Sharks, maybe. and the Flames. So um, I think that with only 4 teams possibly even having a shot at the playoffs, uh, Anaheim's got basically a lock for those top 3 spots.
Hmm. And
You never know, though. A team could surprise us.
yes.
That is very true.
So here's the thing. I only have 3 teams in the Pacific Division making the playoffs because that Central Division is way too powerful. They got way too many good teams. I think 5's gonna have to make it there, and they're gonna have to get one of these top 3 spots.
I would say the same thing too. Actually, that they've got at least 5 playoff teams. It's going to be an interesting battle to see who gets that last wild card spot.
Hmm. I mean, it is
Me,
crazy pressure.
I'm over here playing devil's advocate. I'm really looking at the LA Kings maybe making a run at the last wild card spot. They definitely have the potential to do it. It's just that they haven't been producing like they should be lately. And with the recent firing of their head coach and GM and then getting a new one, um, really it's just I think they still have the potential to do it. It's just whether they can perform. But if they can't do it, then I'm probably gonna have to go with the other teams in this Central Division making the playoffs.
All right, so I think we can move on now. Am I right?
Yeah, I
Yep.
think we're good.
All right. So I mean, questions and predictions. I do have a question. I want, and then we're gonna make predictions here. Only one question, and it was about what I said earlier back in transactions. Will Alexei Marchenko be returning to the NHL? If so, how long?
I said yes, and I think that Marchenko at 35 or 25, excuse me, he was a great addition for the Leafs, but he wasn't going to get anywhere as an eighth defender. So it was a great idea for him to go to Moscow um, and get some more playing time, develop. I'd say it'd take him about 3 years because I think he's signed to a 3-year contract
Yeah.
with CSK Moscow. So after that 3-year contract, he comes back over to North America. He's 28. He's in the middle of his prime, and he could be used as a solid 5-6 defenseman.
I am kind of neutral on this whole thing. Marchenko was the last player I expected to sign a contract in the KHL, but you know, I really think that um, Marchenko could use it, like as you were saying, like the extra ice time is always beneficial, and
Stand by.
yeah, I really think that he could use that extra time. Maybe he could come back to the NHL. I think 3 years might be a little bit soon, but yeah,
And I think he will, but I think 4 years. Similar to the Kovalchuk situation when you had all these rumors and then he signed a 1 year contract. So, and then, moving on, I'm gonna leave, leave this up to Jack, and because this is his little thing he wanted to announce on the channel. So, here you go.
yes. As you guys know, we are doing simulations in NHL 18 and
Yes.
17, and I have started forming up a plan that we are going to be doing a mascot league because mascots are playable in NHL 18 threes. So this will be an NHL 18 threes, by the way. And now I'm not sure whether it will be like just one mascot being able to play on each team or whether you can actually form a team of mascots.
You can.
So what the possible alignments is, well, it will be for both these alignments, it will be divisions. So there will be 4 teams each by division, and they'll just play a series of round robin games against each other. Um, if we don't have if we don't, this is if like mascots are playable on each team. Like you can form a team of mascots. If you can't, then we'll just do 4 teams per division, and then we'll figure. I haven't really figured that out yet, but so I guess I'll have more to come on that later on. But for now, the plan is to have um, teams of 6 mascots. I don't know what we're gonna do for goalies yet, but there will be 6 mascots on each team for each division, and they'll play a bunch of round robin games. Some with money pucks, some not, and yeah, pretty much that whole thing.
Yeah. I like the idea, and what he's also said about NHL 18 simulations. We'll be doing some recording for games. Like the first game is between the Vancouver Canucks and the Los Angeles Kings on the 25th, I believe. I did not write that date down, but that's gonna do it for the stream. Thanks for watching. Glad you got to hear our pretty long discussion. I really liked your discussion. So tomorrow will be the Arizona Coyotes. We'll be talking about them. So yeah.
And I believe we have our first simulation game coming up tomorrow as well.
What?
I think didn't you say we'd have our first simulation game coming up?
Not really.
All right. Well, I thought you would. Whatever. All right. Coyotes tomorrow.
All right.
Bye.
So that's gonna do it here, and thanks for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow.